الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر كبيرا والحمد لله كثيرا وسبحان الله بكرة وأصيلا إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله تعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وحبيبه أشهد أنه بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وجاهد في الله حق جهاده حتى أتاه اليقين وصلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه واتباعه إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, we praise Allah Azza wa Jal. Another year has gone. Another month of Ramadan has passed. And there's another day we stand here in celebration after a hard work, hard month, a hard-earned month of Ramadan. This is a day of celebration. On the day of Eid al-Fitr, on a moment like this, at a time like this, a question that comes to mind and a question that comes to my mind, I found myself asking myself in the last few days, especially last night and this morning, how do we celebrate in a time like this? How do you celebrate in a time like this when we know what's happening to our brothers and sisters in Gaza? How can we laugh and smile today when for the past 6 months Gaza has been burning? How do we wear new clothes and our brothers and sisters don't have any clothes? They're being starved to death. How do we have some joy with our families at home while you see the scenes coming out of that region, and it hasn't stopped for the past 6 months? Not that it happened and now it's stopped. It's still going on. Yesterday, just a few hours ago, not yesterday, today, a few hours ago, if you look at the Eid al-Fitr in northern Gaza and southern Gaza, they're all praying in the streets because there are no masajid left. What kind of situation is there where an enemy destroys all the houses of worship and 100% of the population is displaced? It's heartbreaking. You see in northern Gaza, it was raining, pouring down, and people are sitting, praying their Eid prayer in the public. They have no shelter to protect them from the rain. So these things come to mind. How do you enjoy a day like this when this is happening? It recalls to mind what, some of the poets said. Mutanabi was a great Arabic poet. He says something lamenting his situation because he saw a situation of war, and it was Eid al-Adha. And during this Eid, he saw a war happening in the Muslim world, and he lost many of his friends and colleagues and family members. He said, عيد لأية حال عدت يا عيد بما مضى أم بأمر فيك تجديد. He asked this question, O Eid, in what state are you coming to us again this year, O Eid? Is it with what, are you bringing with it more of the past, or is there something of renewal, tajdeed, in what you are bringing? And then he asked, أما الأحبة فالبيداء دونهم. He said, as for the beloved ones, they're no longer with us. When they're no longer with us, we are living in a desert, in a desolate landscape. There's no garden for us, just a desert. And he says, فَلَيْتَ دُونَكَ بِيدًا دُونَهَا بِيدُ. He says, if only you were as far away from us, or Eid, talking to Eid, as these relatives are that we have lost. There are brothers and sisters who have lost family members, not only in Gaza, but all around the world, in different situations, not only around the world, but also here. So every Eid comes, there are some people with us, some people are not with us. How do you celebrate Eid when you have a loved one that has passed away? There was a dear neighbor of ours, and she used to bring us on the night of Eid every single year sweets. She would ring the bell and give us sweet. She was a dear sister, Sister Anis. Her husband is a pillar of the community, Rajasa, and she passed away in the beginning of Ramadan. And last night, for the first time, there was no doorbell, no bell ringing with the sweets. How does a family like that celebrate a day like this? Is there a Eid for them? Is there a Eid for the people of Gaza? So to answer this question, I was really demoralized and I called a friend of mine, a dear Imam, a dear friend who's from Gaza. He lives in the DC area, a beautiful brother, Sami Zaharna. And he gave me some advice and he said some beautiful words. It's always we find in situations like this, the people of Gaza that teach us how to live, teach us what Iman is. He reminded me, he said, look, the celebrations in Islam, when we celebrate, it's not like a party. It's not like a celebration without any consequences. It really is an obedience to the command of Allah. Because Allah is the one who says at the end of Eid, وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةَ وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. So our celebrations, they're really gratitude for the blessing of what? The blessing of Hidayah. وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةَ وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ. This is talking about Eid. Complete the days of Ramadan, and on the day of Eid, تُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ. Say the takbirat. And then for the fact that Allah Ta'ala ma hadakum, for the hidayah that He has given you, we are grateful. So we are grateful for the month of Ramadan. And that's a celebration in and of itself. What's the greatest gift that we received in the month of Ramadan? We found the place of Allah in our lives. We found out who we are as believers. Look at the past month that you spent, 30 days this year. 30 days of worshiping Allah. Look at how you felt. You realize this place of Allah in your life. Maybe before Ramadan, it wasn't like that. But now you realize this is the greatest gift that a human being can have. That's why in the beginning of the verses of Ramadan, Allah said, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. The purpose of Ramadan is so that you may find Allah. You may gain taqwa. Taqwa is that greatest gift of Ramadan that we have gained. The fact that you have found Allah Azza wa Jal, the fact that you have found His guidance, you followed His guidance, this is a cause worthy of celebration because this is the greatest thing you can have. Allah is the Lord of the universe. He's the Lord of the people of Gaza. He's the Lord of all the situations. If you have found Allah, you have found everything. Ibn Ata'ullah, he said something beautiful. He said, أي شيء وجد من فقد الله وأي شيء فقد من وجد الله. He said, the one who has found God, what has he had lost? And the one who has lost Allah, what has he really found in his life? This is something amazing. If you look at the Lord of the circumstance, you go to the source and you hold on to Him, you realize you get a connection with Him, then surely the fortunes will be shifted because He is the muqallib al-qulub. He is the one who can change the circumstances and no one else. No one else can help you. We all realize that if anyone has any doubt that the UN has a role to help us, that the United States, President Joe Biden, or anyone else will help the Muslims, then sorry to say, you're living in delusion. Allah has showed us that no one will come to your aid but Allah Azza wa Jal. No one can help the Muslims but the Muslims themselves. No one else will ever help you because 33,000 people dead, 15,000 children, 100% of the population displaced, 80% of the buildings destroyed in a region. There's no war in human history that showed these types of figures. No one will help the Muslims with themselves. So the sooner we realize that the source of everything is Allah Azza wa Jal, the sooner we realize that, the sooner we gain that. One of the gifts of Ramadan is that we gain that taqwa, realize only Allah can make things happen. And only Allah is the one you turn to. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. That's why we say, you alone. إِيَّاكَ means no one else. Doesn't mean, oh, Allah help us and also other people help us. No. You alone help us. And to you alone we turn, and to you alone we ask for assistance. This is the greatest gift. There's a story we all read from back home where we come from. There was a great Muslim ruler, Mahmud al-Ghaznawi. So he was he had a huge empire at his disposal. He had so many servants and he had so many slaves. So one day he was feeling generous and he said to everyone, he announced to his ministers, look, anything you want, you just go put your hand on it and it's yours. Whatever you put your hand on is yours. So some of his ministers, they put their hand on the treasury, they put their hand on this item or that item, and he gave it to all of them. But he had one servant that he loved, his name was Ayaz. And it's a famous story. Ayaz, he went straight to Mahmud and he put his hand on the shoulder of Mahmud. And he said, you own everything, I put my hand on you and I will gain everything. And he realized how smart he was. This is how the believer should be in your life. The source of everything is Allah Azza wa Jal. You want change in your circumstances, you want Allah to fix our problems, you want the broken ummah to be healed, only Allah can do that. The sooner we have ta'alluq, we gain a relationship with Allah, the better. So this is the first gift of Ramadan. We realize Allah is the source of all power, source of all might. He's the Rabbul Alameen. And we gain a relationship with Him. The second thing we realize, there are only two things. This is my final point. The second great gift of Ramadan is that we realize the power of unity and the power of community. Look at how communities were transformed. Look how the masajid were filled. Look what you could achieve together, united, shoulder to shoulder, standing in ranks, sisters, brothers, youth, young and old. Look at how much money we raised in all the communities. Look at how the community is being expanded with no outside help. There's no government help in these institutions in the United States, all around the world. In many of these places, it's you and me banding together, being unified, and building up these great institutions. So that unity is the second great source of strength for the Muslims. If you look at what's happening in Gaza, you know there's how many Muslim countries in the world? 57. How many Muslims in the world? About 2 billion. That's 25% of the global population. How many resources we have at our disposal? The Ummah is a sleeping giant. The Ummah is a sleeping, if you look at the stats of the Ummah, it terrifies the enemy. That's why they do what they do. They realize 57 countries, 2 billion population, 1/4 of the global population. Some of the largest standing armies in the world belong to Muslim countries. Some of the wealthiest people in the world are Muslim. If you look at the GDP of all the Muslim countries combined, it's in the trillion. And we have tremendous resources. We have intellectual resources at our disposal. We have some of the smartest people in the world. We have strategic assets in the Muslim country. We own so many coastlines. That's part of the reason Gaza is being hit. It has coast. But we have countries like Somalia and other countries that have such tremendous coastlines, which are a great asset. When you look at all that, we realize, yes, no one's doing anything for Gaza because we are sleeping. We are emasculated. But inshallah, a day will come when we will wake up. People will realize who we are. When the Ummah is united, no one can defeat that Ummah. And the enemy realizes that. That's why they're doing their best to keep the Ummah divided. The sooner we realize that we need to hold on to Allah and we need to unite and we need to be together as an Ummah. إِنَّ هَذِهِ أُمَّتُكُمْ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً وَأَنَا رَبُّكُمْ فَاعْبُدُونَ. This Ummah of your Lord, Allah says this Ummah of yours is one Ummah. And I am the Lord of this Ummah. And you should worship me alone. The sooner you realize there's one Lord and one Ummah, one Allah and one nation. It's not a nation of this people or that people, this ethnic group or that ethnic group, as we have made it out to be. It's a nation of one brotherhood. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. When we realize that it's your babies that are dying in Gaza, that it's our children that are starving around the world in different parts, you realize this is our family. These are our people. We need to do something. When the Ummah wakes up, then it's going to be a tremendous change in our circumstances. Finally, brothers and sisters, on this day of Eid, as we bow our heads in gratitude and remember our brothers and sisters around the world, let's remember that help is just around the relief is just around the corner. It's a sunnah of Allah in the world that hard times are followed by easy times. The night is followed by day. A dark night is followed by the dawn. It's always been like that for millions of years. It's never going to be otherwise. وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. Allah says these are days we give human beings. What is He talking about? Days of prosperity, days of adversity, days of war, days of peace. The days keep shifting. So one day there is going to be a better time ahead. But this is all a test from Allah Azza wa Jal. As Imam Shafi'i said, and I'll end with that, مِحَنُ الزَّمَانِ كَثِيرَةٌ لَا تَنْقَضِي. That's something beautiful. He said, مِحَنُ الزَّمَانِ كَثِيرَةٌ لَا تَنْقَضِي. The mihan, or the trials and tribulations of our time, are so great. The crises are so many that you can't even count them. It seems like they never stop. But then he says, وَسُرُورُهُ يَأْتِيكَ كَالْأَعْيَادِ. He said, just like there's so many trials and tribulations this time, know for sure that the happiness, the joy that will come at the end will be like the celebration, like A'yad, like the Eid. So when you have difficult times, when the times get the most difficult, know that relief is ahead and times of joy are ahead. May Allah accept all of our prayers and our fasting. May Allah accept everything that we did in Ramadan. May Allah help us be united and build strong communities. May Allah save the people of Gaza. May Allah save the Muslims struggling all around the world. May Allah alleviate their suffering and their burdens and their hardship. May Allah give some joy on this day of Eid to those children who are starving, the children who are burned and disfigured, to the children who are suffering, who lost their parents and their family members. May Allah forgive everyone who has passed away in our community. Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqan wa rizqna ittiba'a wa arina al-batila batilan wa rizqna ijtinaba. Allahumma tawaffana muslimin walhiqna bis-salihin ghayra khazaya wa la maftunin. Allahumma aslih lana dinana alladhi huwa ismatu amrina wa aslih lana dunyana allati fiha ma'ashuna wa aslih lana akhiratana allati ilayha ma'aduna. واجعل الحياة زيادة لنا من كل خير والموت راحة لنا من كل شر. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك وأغننا بفضلك عمن سواك. اللهم آمين. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. From myself and on behalf of my family, Eid Mubarak to everyone. May Allah give us all a joyous Eid today, as well as our brothers and sisters around the world.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear relative and friends, Eid Mubarak to all, with pray of your best health, success, promotion, prosperity, and success of thereafter Judgment Day. If possible, please subscribe my YouTube channel @Asif Javed, ASIF Asif JWED 6744. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz. From Muslim Center of Middlesex County, Piscataway, New Jersey, USA. Allah Hafiz. Thank you.